Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm doing a review on the Amber Sports Mexican style boxing gloves. So check it out. Hey guys, Carlo here, and today I'm doing a review on the Amber Sports Mexican style boxing gloves. I got mine in 12 ounce lace ups. You can also get these in 14 or 16 ounces, and they do make this in a Velcro closure. The gloves are made in Pakistan with full genuine leather construction. It only comes in this all black colorway, and they use closed cell multi-layer foam over the striking surface. Now, Amber Sports is a company that's been around for a very long time. They're not as well known as some of the bigger names when it comes to boxing, but nonetheless, they've been around for a while, ever since the early 90s. As a matter of fact, I think it's actually on the wrist here, 1993, since 1993. So they've been around for a while. This particular model that they offer also reminds me of like the early 90s and the 80s. Brands like Everlast, Toughwear, the Toughwear I believe was in the Rocky movies. Back then, the gloves that you saw look almost like these, very simplistic. The only real company designation or marketing or brand printing on the glove is typically going to be on the wrist like you see here. The rest of the glove would just be a solid black or a solid brown color, and that would be pretty much it. So to me, this is a great glove for those of you that really like that old school vintage look. That's just one solid color. There's no crazy graphics on it. It's all business. And that's what you're really looking for, and that's what you kind of get with this glove when you're looking at it. And profile wise, when you're looking at it, for the 12 ounce glove, I'd say that this is more on the medium to small profile size. It's a shorter cuff type of glove, so it doesn't have a very super long cuff like some of the Mexican style gloves do. The leather itself has kind of a satin finish to it. It does feel very thick, and it has more of kind of like a rigid, rough textured feel to it. That amber patch is a cloth patch on the back of the glove, and then they put like a piece of plastic or patent leather over that patch to cover it. It does have kind of a little bit of a sharp edge, so if you were to use these gloves, or at least the larger 16 ounce versions, I would probably put a piece of tape over that. What would have been nice is if they used that laminate all the way through the back of the wrist support and stitched it in onto the seams right here so that you don't have any edges at all. So that's 12 ounces right there. Obviously the Amber logo, which we discussed. The back of the wrist, I'd say has about 3/4 of an inch of padding on the back of the wrist of medium density. You have nice long white laces with plastic tips at the end. The inside of the wrist, I'd say is about 1/4 of an inch of padding that goes up to right about here. You can actually see the indentation, as well as on this side. You do have the caution logo that you see in all boxing equipment. Basically, user assumes all liability, and the manufacturer is not liable if you lose your teeth, basically. White stitching that is a nice contrast to the all black leather. A leather attached thumb right there. The grip bar on here is a really good size and is quite firm. And there is no ventilated holes through the entire glove, so it does get a little bit on the warm side. The density of the foam padding, again, it's a closed cell foam that they use. I'd say it's medium density. It's not extremely soft, but it's not stiff as well. I'd say it's right there in the middle. So I believe, in my estimation with Amber, they wanted to make this kind of a puncher style glove, why they call it the Mexican training glove, but with another level of protection. So it's not like a full on horsehair glove where your knuckles just go right through the foam padding. So in that regard, I'd say it's kind of right in the middle and balanced when it comes to the padding. The quality of the gloves aren't too bad. I'd say if there was an area of opportunity, it would probably be the stitching. Like you can see right here, a little bit on the crooked side. There's also a piece of black stitching that goes in between those two lines, of those two white stitches, and you can see it's kind of like it just stopped on that end, and this one's a little bit cleaner, but some of the stitching is exposed. Right here on the edges, again, I think that could have been done cleaner. There's a tag. The leather's held up really nicely, I'll give them that. So the leather looks good. You have some bubbling right here. I think it's from the foam on the inside, which you typically see with like molded foam. But there's a little bit of a bubble right there. And you can see on this, and I think that's maybe from me sweating, that it's almost like this leather kind of turned glossy a little bit, maybe from my sweat. It's not damaged, it just has a different shine to it. I think sometimes when I'm like training, I'll like use the thumb to kind of like wipe the sweat off my forehead, and maybe that's what that's from. You can see the knuckle area looks good, consistency wise. The gloves were a hair underweight. I think they were like at 11.9 and 11.7 ounces, which isn't bad. I mean, it's not several ounces overweight. You can see the glove is really well balanced. So the distribution of the foam and the weight in the glove is good. It's not top heavy, and it has enough structural rigidity in the middle to where the glove doesn't just bend right in half by holding the bottom of the cuff. The inside liner is pretty much a standard satin liner that you see, polyester satin liner that you'll see in the majority of gloves. The stitching on the palm side looks pretty good. I mean, it's a little crooked in certain spots, like right there you can see that the stitching on the top line is much closer, the grouping, but the bottom one is like a little bit more spaced out. So just to kind of point that out. Thumb doesn't look too bad. And here is where the grip bar is, not too bad as well. The attached thumb is pretty clean. Where the index finger meets the thumb, looks pretty good. So I'd say just those little areas of the stitching is probably the areas I would be most concerned with, but outside of that, everything else looks pretty solid. Go ahead and put my hand in the glove and tell you guys about the comfort. So the thumb on this glove is a little awkward, and by a little I mean just like, it's just enough to where you notice it when you wear the gloves, but it's not so bad like some gloves where your thumb is completely just winged out, where it's annoying once you start using it. To me, this thumb is correctable by just continuing to break it in. And you do feel a little bit of it kind of winging out a little, and the same thing with this piping being a little tight. But I definitely could foresee this being a little bit more broken in, and the comfort will definitely be there. The flexibility to open and close your hand is really good. Nice deep finger compartment as well. I do notice that the area right here, this finger pocket, you can feel the stitching and the liner kind of come together. So it would have been nice if they put like a piece of felt or just something like neoprene to cover that, so it doesn't just feel like your finger is kind of pushing into a bunch of like just fabric and stitching, if that makes any sense. So, but in terms of like the hand compartment, it's not too wide, it's not too narrow. So in terms of sizing for a 12-ounce glove, I think it's pretty much spot on. I also feel like the liner they use on the inside around this portion of the hand, if you rub your hand in there, it feels pretty wrinkly, and I feel again they should have put maybe like a smoother, silkier liner to line the inside where this part of the hand is at, rather than that wrinkly kind of foamy material they use. Wrist feels good, and you can see it does have a little bit of a shorter cuff. It's not a long cuffed glove, so for those of you that prefer that shorter cuff, I'm pretty sure you'll appreciate that. But overall, outside of the thumb and the finger compartment and the back of the fingers, everything else feels pretty good with this glove. Protection and performance, like I mentioned earlier, this is a really good training glove. I mean, if you're looking for something that you can use for sparring, for bag work, hitting the mitts, I think this is suitable for all of those, activities when it comes to boxing. This being a 12-ounce glove, this is really more geared to those of you that are going to be doing bag work, hitting the mitts. If you decide to go with the 16s, it uses the same padding, it's just a larger glove. I don't foresee this being an issue as well for sparring, because the foam is soft enough and forgiving, so it won't inflict a ton of damage, but it's also not completely just soft and broken in where your knuckles will go through, or too stiff like a molded foam glove. So I'd say it's right there in the middle. A decent amount of wrist support for those of you that maybe have a wrist injury. Obviously it's not going to compare to like a bag glove like the Guerrero bag gloves, where you have like that ratcheting nylon system with the ratcheting Velcro, but it's not bad either. And the fact that they put enough padding through the midsection of the glove will offer you a good amount of support. Cost-wise, these gloves are $55, 55 US dollars here, which is not a bad price. I mean, I feel like it's all leather construction. There's gloves that are more expensive than this that are synthetic. You know, the quality on these are pretty solid outside of the stitching. I think they look good. I mean, it's rare nowadays to see a glove that has that simplicity to it. I do like the closed cell foam that they use over the knuckle area. I'd say probably just the biggest opportunity is going to be the stitching and a little bit of the comfort features in the thumb. But outside of that, for 55 bucks, I would definitely pull the trigger if I'm looking for a glove that has more of a simplified look to it, is made of full leather, and I needed something just for all around training at my gym. I definitely think this would be a good alternative. So if you guys have any questions or comments, make sure you guys leave them down below in the comments box. I'll put the link in the description box where you can find these Amber Sports Mexican style boxing gloves. I'll see you guys later. Take care.